Hello, my name is Jackson. Today I'm going to be presenting to you guys my interview with Jeff Whitman. Um, the topic I decided to talk to Jeff about was networking. I feel like whether we're talking about the rec field or basically any other field, networking is probably, in my opinion at least, the top two or top three most important skill to have when you go into the professional world. Just in general, networking is just kind of your ability and what you do to meet other people, interact with people, get yourself more well known, kind of put yourself out there, just kind of on a basic level. So we are going to get into the questions I asked Jeff, and then I have his answers here that I'm going to tell you guys about. Asked him 5 questions, and the first one being, what does networking mean to you in the recreation field? And he basically told me that it's consistent with other fields. It's all about communication, and it's an opportunity to form relationships. He told me that information is very important. The more you know, the better. You need to understand and use empathy to support yourself and others. And next, he kind of went into saying that networking is a good source of feedback, kind of understanding and helping you with what you did right, what you did wrong. It's great for assistance and help again. And then he just said, to end this question, he said that it's the common denominator of helping people and supporting yourself. And then he ended with a quote, not what you know, but who you know, which I feel like is a very well-known quote. What techniques have you used that have worked in the recreation field is the second question. He basically started off with telling me that he was old school. He didn't really use a whole lot of electronics. He got most of his networking done through participation in professional groups. Basically sharing experiences and getting involved works, collaborating with others on certain projects. And then a big thing for him is basically, he just told me a big thing that worked is to develop relationships and maintain them. I was going to help you out with networking a lot. Then to kind of piggyback off of that last question, I asked him, have you noticed any networking techniques that haven't worked in the rec field? And the only real answer he had, and he gave me an example of it as well, but the only thing he mentioned for this was he kind of touched that since in the rec field there isn't a lot of pay, I guess. He mentioned like monetary stuff, that they don't really have the opportunity to have these lavish or luxurious networking opportunities like a lawyer might have. He said lawyers might take a cruise trip or go on a vacation or something to meet people in that field, and he said that rec professionals don't really have that opportunity. It's very basic and just kind of very mainstream is kind of what he was getting at. But he also thinks that this excuse me, could be a benefit since the rec field is such a new field. Fourth question, I asked him, to what extent would you attribute your success in the rec field to networking? Sorry, just gonna adjust my mic, didn't realize it was falling over there. So I said, to what extent would you attribute your success in the rec field to networking? He basically just said a fair amount. That was his first answer. He said he would attribute a fair amount. He then got into mentoring. He mentioned that was the biggest reason why he actually got into the rec field. He said he had really, really good mentors, which helped him out a lot, helped him kind of get his foot in the door. And this was, like, again, how he got into the rec field and how he got to enjoy was through his mentors. And then the last question I asked him, just kind of like a general question to wrap everything up. I said, what are some tips on improving networking skills? For this, he gave me a lot of really, really good information. He told me, basically, the first thing he said was work on relationships, or work on establishing and maintaining relationships. He called it, in quotes, a practice. You need to keep in touch regularly, make sure that you're staying in touch with them, and you want to really keep and maintain those relationships. Next, he told me that the skill sets fall on your ability to communicate, and he mentioned that this kind of is standard for networking in any field. But he said you need to be focused with it. You need to be selective and find the right group. He said that is very important. However, you don't want to be scared to look for new groups. And then he said, just as he was, you need to be willing to have someone to mentor you. He said this is very important. Again, a lot of the tips and information he was giving me, he was relating it back to the idea that it's not just for rec that this would work, but really in any field. So he said that being able to find those mentors and letting them teach you and getting, you into that field is very important. So that's basically all that he told me. To kind of summarize the most important things I learned from the interview, it was really just the ability. It's not necessarily your ability to communicate. Some people might be more personable, some people might, be more friendly or anything like that, but it's not necessarily that, but kind of your willingness and your ability to put yourself out there and to meet those people. Because if you can, get yourself to put in that effort, and you can get yourself to meet those people and make those connections, then you're really going to be able to grow as a person and grow in that field and meet people. I really like the quote that he used. I mean, whenever I think of networking, I think of this quote as well, but it's not, my dad used to tell me this all the time, but it's not who you know, or it's not what you know, but it's who you know. You don't have to necessarily be the smartest to be the best in your position. It's always best to know as many people as possible to help you out with whatever situation you might be in. So that about does it for me. Thank you for listening, and bye.